Greetings and welcome to the other VR flight sim that uses motion controllers to operate an in-game cockpit, and that of course is UltraWings. Now, UltraWings is, of course, a much more peaceful flight sim than we have been playing recently on the channel in the form of VTOL VR. In this, there is, well, actually, you can shoot things, but they're just balloons. It's just one of the type of missions that you can take. Otherwise, you're just generally flying around, flying through rings, taking off, landing, completing simple sort of taxiing jobs and stuff like that. It's modeled on the classic Super NES game Pilotwings, which is a game that I always wanted and never got. It was just one of those games. I don't know, somehow I didn't get it at the time, and then over the years, of course, I have never gotten around to trying it on an emulator or any of its sequels, if indeed it had any sequels. So I was quite excited to grab this when I saw this come up on the Steam store, and honestly, I have to say, it's a great experience. I actually got this before VTOL VR, and it was the first time that I operated this sort of like in-game cockpit outside my own game. Which, to be fair, I had done first, you know, I did it first. Alright, I didn't do it first. I mean, I didn't get it to market first. I didn't even do it first because these guys must have been doing it long before me. But nonetheless, it's just fantastic. Anyway, look, let's just go for a little test flight. This is just going to be a fairly short video today. I just wanted to highlight this game and to talk a little bit about how I think that this is really the future of flight sims. Anyway, let's get this thing off the ground and we can talk a little bit when we're up in the air. So first I need to get the fuel flow turned on, and then I need to turn on the magneto and engage the starter. There we go, very nice. Give it a little bit of throttle. Grab the stick. Full throttle. Now I need to remember, I've been playing so much VTOL VR recently that the control is a little different in this. Here we go, and we're off the ground. Very gentle, very nice. I'm just in a little ultralight here. Look, if I sort of like, I probably shouldn't let go of the stick, but just look out, you can see the wings on either side. If I turn around, you can see a motor there behind me powering away. So this is one of 3 planes available in UltraWings, as I understand it. You've got the ultralight, you've also got the rocket glider, which I also have unlocked. I might do a bit of flying of that later. And I believe there's like a sort of little Cessna type aircraft or something you can unlock, which I haven't as yet raised the funds for. But this is, you know, it's a much more relaxing experience than playing VTOL VR. It's quite forgiving, especially this ultralight. I mean, you know, it's so light and so maneuverable, and frankly, you can just kind of like weave about the place wherever you want. It uses a slightly different control system to VTOL VR. What VTOL VR does is you sort of put your motion controller where the joystick is and you press the sort of grip button, and then the motion controller kind of becomes the joystick and you would operate it in the same way as you would the joystick. In this, what happens is you grab it, so your motion controllers effectively remain your hand. So I kind of like, I grab it and I move my whole hand left, right, forward, backwards, and operate the joystick accordingly, which is also great. I don't know which I prefer, in all honesty. I mean, I think this way probably works better when you've got this kind of like big joystick type setup, but I think they're both viable. I think actually it would make sense to provide options to cover both, like, you know, in the options menu, allow people to use whichever system they want, whichever they most prefer, and then sort of like over time see if one emerges as the de facto standard or not. We're just kind of like, just going to cruise about here. We'll do a little lap around the island, and then we'll come in, we'll land. Maybe we'll switch to the rocket glider and go for a little rocket glide about. So why do I think this is the future of flight sims? Well, if you've not tried VR, then you probably won't understand just how incredibly connected to the environment you feel in VR, you know, and putting yourself in the cockpit like this and actually being able to, it's not just being able to look around. Obviously you can kind of get a sense of that with track IR, and like, you know, head tracking systems that you use, or indeed just by, like, you know, having mouse look turned on or something like that. But it's not the same. The connection you feel with a VR headset on is that you are there, you are in that environment. I am sitting in this cockpit. This here is real. I mean, the stereoscopic vision, the depth perception, everything having depth. Look, this guy flying past us. Look at that. Is that not awesome? That's pretty awesome. Look at this. You know, really close. Hiya! He's a friend of mine. He kind of hangs out around this island all the time. Yeah, so there we go. I mean, what can I say? I'm a massive fan of VR flight sims. One of the nice things about this as well is, like, I in general, I love VR room scale stuff. I don't like generally sitting down in playing VR games, in part because you're kind of restricted, and unless you're supposed to be restricted, like you're sitting down in the game, there's a disconnect there. So if I'm sitting down in the game like I'm in a cockpit, great, that's no problem. But it's also because I like to feel like I'm still in that environment. I can still reach out, I can still touch things. And a lot of sitting down VR games use like joypads or keyboard and mouse, perhaps not keyboard and mouse quite so much, but or like joysticks, HOTASes, things like that. And that just, it sort of throws you out of the game. It feels a little bit disconnected from the game. You can't reach out and touch things, which is such a crucial component of being in a VR game, I think, to make you feel like you're present in that environment. So, you know, this I think is brilliant. This kind of VR game, this kind of VR sitting experience where you still use the motion controllers. The first one that I actually tried like this was Bridge Crew, and it's brilliant. It's brilliant. This might even, in the right game, this might even be slightly preferential for me to the standing experiences, partly because you don't need as much space. You basically only need more or less the same amount of space as you need for, you know, to sit at any computer, although it's beneficial to turn away from your monitor. So, you know, you're pointing out into the room if you've got an empty room there. Look, we're gonna bring this in for a landing. We'll just cut the thrust down here a little bit. We'll keep it ticking over. We'll put my flaps up a little, just so that we've got a slightly slower landing speed, and we'll just sort of cruise in for a nice, beautiful and near perfect landing, as all my landings are. But yeah, I was rambling on. Sorry, I was rambling on about how sitting experiences where you've actually got your motion controllers just been a revelation to me, because, you know, like I said, I think it solves that slight quandary, that slight issue that VR has at the moment, that the best experiences, the best way for VR is room scale, but not everybody has the room to do room scale, you know. And yeah, you can just do standing, and that is probably the next best thing, if you know what I mean. But you're still stood up, and whilst that may be good for you, look, we're going to ease down now, cut the thrust. Oh yeah, down we go. Now I believe there's a way of operating brakes in this, but I'm not quite sure what it is. So I don't suppose it really matters too much. There we go. We've come to a nice stop anyway. We'll turn the engines off, and we'll head home, and we'll jump in the rocket glider for more rambling chat, I guess. This is another thing that UltraWings does really nicely, and again, this is just something that VR does so wonderfully, you know, rather than a menu screen to select the different things, or even like, you know, an in-game 3D representation on a screen where you just click on the thing that you want. The menu in this is your little flight office. You know, look, there's my rocket glider out there in my hangar. Here's my piggy bank that shows me how much money I've got, how much money I've accrued. I've actually got a laptop in-game to like select different things, to select my jobs and stuff, which, I mean, I think is just genius. This is how you control the volume. Look, if I want to turn the sound effects down, that's how I turn them down and how they turn them up again. That's how I control the music. I've got it turned down at the moment so that I can mix in the music after the fact during the editing. But it's just, yeah, seriously, the degree of presence and awesomeness in VR and the way this can make you feel like you are in the game in a way that is completely different from the normal, like, game playing experience. If you haven't tried VR, I cannot emphasize enough how much better this is for this type of game and many others, but specifically for this type of game. You know, like if you enjoy flight sims, if you enjoy flying about, it's just, you know, I can't imagine going back and playing flight sims not like this now. And actually, to be honest with you, I struggle. Look, let me take off. We'll do another free flight. There we go. Except that, a bit like VTOL, I wonder whether VTOL got the idea from this or vice versa. But you know, in order to start the game, you know, I don't click a start button. I put my helmet on. Here we go.
Cleared for takeoff.
Thank you, tower. We'll enable the fuel flow and turn on the main control. Now, this is a glider, right? But instead of a winch to take me up into like the level that I want, I've got a rocket motor on the back. Let me just grab the stick, and I'm going to push the rocket starter button. There we go. I think it just kind of like runs for a fixed period of time. There we go, we're off the ground. And then it cuts out, and you know, I got enough fuel for quite a few burns. So we'll just take it up to a nice high altitude, and then we'll we'll cruise down, cruise back down. What I was saying, I was talking about like not being able to imagine going back to flat screen gaming for a game like this now. I mean, this is one of the things that VR does do, is it kind of changes your expectations. So there are plenty of games that I would still play, and that I still do play on a flat screen, you know. And there's great old games that I will continue to play, even though they are perhaps ones that, if I could get a VR version of them, you know, I would love it. But at the moment, it's perhaps out with the technical and financial capabilities of the market. But for something like a flight sim, I just can't see myself going back and playing a flight sim now on a flat screen, you know, when I could be playing VTOL, or when I could be playing this and just cruising about the place and actually being as close as possible to being in a real cockpit without being actually in a real cockpit, you know. And of course, you know, it has the added advantage of not risking death when I'm flying about, and you know, being able to do crazy things like flying a rocket glider and other such activities. Like, let's activate the engines again. We're getting a bit more altitude. Having played flight sims that use motion controllers to operate the in-game controls, I wouldn't want to go back to playing a flight sim that didn't. Like, I've got and quite enjoy War Thunder, and you know, I mean, like the problem for me in War Thunder is I have to kind of, you know, unpack the joystick and set it all up and kind of get in there and get in game, and it's good. Like, War Thunder in VR is good, don't get me wrong. But knowing how much better it could be if it supported motion controls, maybe they'll patch it, I don't know. I mean, I would love to be operating the in-game controls in War Thunder with my motion controllers and to feel properly connected to the environment like that. And I suspect I would play it a lot more. And it's actually more convenient. I mean, I didn't think I would ever say this about VR gaming, that it's more convenient. All I got to do to play a VR flight sim is turn my seat around so that I'm kind of like pointing out into open space. I don't even have to like put on a different headset. I can use the same headset that's connected to my PC. I don't need to worry about connecting into the Vive's like headset thing at all. I can just literally put the Vive headset on, put my headphones on over the top, pick up the motion controllers, and away I go. And it's brilliant. It's wonderful. I just love it so much. But where you can get away with it, whether it's a flight sim, whether it's a mech game, I can imagine a mech game being amazing actually, where you're sitting in the cockpit of the mech and you're using the motion controllers to operate the mech controls, and possibly, you know, you can like pick up the thing and like directly control the guns. Yeah, that is one that I am looking forward to seeing whenever somebody gets around to making that. And indeed, for my own game, I've been seriously thinking, okay, I should support sitting as an option. Anyway, we are just coming into land now, so this is probably an excellent place to leave off this video. I just wanted to show a little bit of UltraWings and have an opportunity to wax lyrical about the great joys of VR in general and VR flight sims with motion controllers in particular. Thanks a lot for watching. If you want to see more UltraWings in the future, do let me know, and indeed other VR titles and all the rest of it. But until then, thanks a lot for watching, everyone. I have been Weird Wizard, and I will see you later.